Before power, before politics, before revolution, there was a household of modest means in Mashhad, in the holy city of Mashhad, beneath the golden dome of the Imam Reza shrine. A child was born on April 19, 1939. His name was Ali Khamenei. Few could have imagined that this boy from a modest clerical family would one day shape the destiny of Iran for nearly 4 decades. Mashhad was no ordinary city. It was a spiritual capital, a center of pilgrimage and theology. Religion was not merely faith here, it was authority, tradition, and identity. Ali was the second of 8 children. Ali's father, Javad Khamenei, was a cleric of Azerbaijani origin. Politics before he was respected but not wealthy. The family lived without luxury. There were no estates, no grand libraries, no aristocratic privileges. The home was defined by discipline. The children rose early. Meals were simple. Education was paramount. By age 4, Ali was studying the Quran in a maktab. Soon he entered the seminary system, a world of logic, jurisprudence, theology, and rigorous debate. From an early age, he absorbed 2 defining characteristics of clerical life: intellectual rigor and austerity. In later decades, supporters would point to this upbringing as evidence of authenticity. Critics would argue it fostered rigidity. But in those early years, it was simply structure. His mother, Khadija Mir Damadi, ensured that religious instruction began immediately. By age 4, Ali was learning Quranic recitation. By adolescence, he was immersed in classical Arabic grammar, jurisprudence, and theology. Mashhad offered him more than education. It offered immersion in religious authority as a lived reality. The shrine of Imam Reza shaped Mashhad's identity. Clerics walked openly in robes. Sermons echoed from courtyards. Religious debates unfolded in study halls and tea houses. Young Ali observed a society where spiritual authority carried political weight. Unlike secular urban centers elsewhere, Mashhad's culture reinforced a belief that governance and religion were intertwined. In the 1940s and 1950s, Iran itself was in transition. Reza Shah's earlier secularization campaigns had weakened traditional clerical influence. His son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, pursued modernization, Western alliances, and centralized control. But in cities like Mashhad, the clerical network remained strong. Ali's formative worldview developed within that tension between monarchy and mosque. Seminary path. By his early teens, Ali had committed to the seminary track. The Hausa system was not casual education, it was hierarchical and rigorous. Students advanced through levels of jurisprudence. They memorized foundational texts. They debated points of Islamic law with precision. Success required endurance. Khamenei demonstrated aptitude, particularly in rhetoric and interpretation. But unlike some clerics who pursued purely theological mastery, Khamenei gravitated towards sermons with social implication. He was drawn not only to doctrine, but to relevance. In Mashhad, he began delivering minor sermons. He engaged with local scholars. His confidence grew. Yet Mashhad, while influential, was not the center of Shia scholarship. That center was Qom. Journey to Qom. In the late 1950s, Khamenei traveled to Qom. The city housed Iran's most influential clerics. It was a laboratory of political theology. Here, he encountered debates that would shape his ideology for life. Among the prominent figures was Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini's lectures challenged a prevailing quietist tradition within Shia clerical thought. Traditionally, many clerics avoided direct political rule, waiting for the return of the hidden imam. Khomeini rejected passivity. He argued that in the absence of the hidden imam, Islamic jurists must govern directly. This doctrine, Velayat-e-Faqih, would later become constitutional law. Young Khamenei listened carefully. Intellectual formation. Qom in the 1960s was alive with political undercurrents. Students debated westernization. They critiqued land reforms and state secularization. They questioned alliances with foreign powers. Khamenei was not yet a revolutionary commander, but he was absorbing a framework. Political authority must reflect Islamic principles. Foreign influence threatens sovereignty. Clerical leadership carries responsibility beyond spiritual guidance. His rhetorical skill developed. He translated works. He delivered speeches. He participated in study circles that blurred theology and politics. These were not yet the actions of a national figure, they were the building blocks of one. Confronting the Shah. By the early 1960s, tensions between clerics and the Shah intensified. Land reforms, women's suffrage, and modernization policies angered segments of the clergy. Protests erupted in 1963. Khomeini was arrested. The state responded with force. For young clerics like Khamenei, this was a defining moment. The state was not neutral, it was adversarial. Khamenei began openly criticizing government policies in sermons. His speeches attracted attention, and eventually, surveillance, first arrests. The Shah's intelligence service, SAVAK, monitored dissent. Khamenei was arrested multiple times in the 1960s and 70s. He endured interrogation and temporary imprisonment. These experiences left a mark. For some, imprisonment breeds caution. For others, it breeds conviction. In Khamenei's case, it deepened resolve. Each arrest confirmed his belief that monarchy and foreign-backed governance were incompatible with Islamic sovereignty. He began to see himself not just as a scholar, but as part of a movement, the quiet organizer. Unlike more flamboyant revolutionaries, Khamenei operated methodically. He built networks among clerical students. He maintained contact with Mashhad and Qom circles. He contributed to the ideological coherence of the anti-Shah movement. He was not yet famous, but he was reliable. In revolutionary movements, reliability matters. The shaping of a worldview. By the late 1970s, several core beliefs had crystallized. 1. Political Islam was not optional, it was necessary. 2. Sovereignty required independence from Western dominance. 3. Clerical leadership must guide the state. 4. Security institutions were essential to protect revolution. These principles would later define his tenure as supreme leader. But in the 1970s, they were seeds. On the eve of revolution, in 1978, protests escalated nationwide. Oil strikes crippled the economy. Millions filled the streets. The Shah's authority faltered. Khomeini, exiled but influential, directed momentum from abroad. Khamenei aligned fully with the revolutionary network. He was no longer merely a seminarian. He was a political actor. Closing monologue. Before the title, before the office, before the decades of authority. There was a boy shaped by pilgrimage city discipline. A student formed by theological rigor. A young cleric hardened by arrests. His worldview did not emerge suddenly in 1989. It was forged in classrooms, interrogation rooms, and sermons delivered under watchful eyes. To understand the ruler he became, we must understand the convictions formed here, in the shrine city of Mashhad and the seminaries of Qom. Because revolutions are not built in a day, they are built in minds. And the mind of Ali Khamenei was preparing for power long before power prepared for him.